I forgot my jeansjacka.
It's time for another trip, one from Stockholm to Palma, Mallorca that I took in June. Yes, I've got quite a backlog by now. And it's with the kids again. In the TUI 787 video, I inserted some of the family travel experience, and it's my most popular video so far on here. So here we'll try a similar thing, albeit with maybe a less interesting airplane at its center. That would be the Lauda A320, part of Ryanair but offering a very different onboard experience. So is it any good? No, it sucks. But you should still watch the video to find out more. Time for another trip from Stockholm to Palma in Mallorca. The last time I did this was on Swiss in business class. This time, it's a family trip and we're on Ryanair. And not just any normal Ryanair, but the Lauda Europe A320 that operates some Ryanair flights. Otherwise, not sure what to expect at all, actually. It'll be cool to see what these planes are like inside. Something different. I wonder what they'll have on offer and how it'll be with 3 kids along. It's not as fun as the TUI Dreamliner we took last time, but let's see how it is. I think it's just landing right now as we speak. Means we'll probably be delayed. Hopefully boarding in about 20 minutes, I guess.
Now what were we gonna check again?
Just gonna check that the gate is there. Boarding? How is it possible? The plane is only just touching down on the runway and they're boarding. I don't know what's going on with that. Different aircraft? Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. Where's the plane? They're gonna send us to some holding pen and make us suffer for a while. I had forgotten that this is of course the classic Ryanair modus operandi. Start getting people processed through those boarding pass scanners even if there's nowhere for them to end up, and it's gonna mean standing packed together on the jet bridge or in some other small space for 20 more minutes. There's one good reason not to fly with them, especially with kids in tow. So realizing that, we just chill by the window while everyone else boards a non-existent plane.
The way plane we are going. We are gonna go now.
Okay, finally getting on board, and at least these Lauda planes have a kind of classic fetching look, with much more pleasing colors than Ryanair if you ask me. Got it?
Yeah. Where we go now?
We're going toward the runway now.
I know.
Heading out toward the runway to take off, and I have to say this legroom is not so bad, but the seat itself is so uncomfortable. There's some kind of hard thing I'm sitting on. I hear from others that are with me that it's not the case on all the seats, so maybe just some. I got unlucky, but man, not comfortable. And they kept this thing sweltering. It didn't turn on any air until just before pushback. I was sitting here in the heat for half an hour. But boarding by the rear door was fun.
We're going now.
So it's nice to have seatback pockets, but that's about the only positive on board here. This cabin feels neglected, broken, kind of scuzzy, just unpleasant. Naturally, there's no IFE or much of anything else. There is an onboard service where they'll sell you all kinds of things, snacks and drinks. Flight attendants are reasonably nice. I got this fairly overpriced canned gin and tonic. These seem to be becoming more of a thing lately. I noticed various airlines carrying them. Not as good as an actual mixed drink, but not terrible and pretty convenient for an airplane, I guess. Did you know the Lauda name comes from Niki Lauda, the late Austrian Formula One driver? He's considered to be one of the best drivers of all time in the sport. In addition to being a racing champion, he also founded or owned 3 different airlines. The original Lauda Air began as a charter airline in 1985, but it later became part of Austrian Airlines and the name was retired. Then there was the airline called Niki, a low-cost airline. The Lauda we're flying today actually comes from a third airline, one that Niki Lauda took over and named Lauda Motion. It flew business charters at first, but when Niki became insolvent, a deal was made for Lauda Motion to purchase it, at which point the Niki brand ceased to exist. And shortly after that, Ryanair took a stake in Lauda Motion. That turned into a complete purchase by January 2019. It's now technically a Maltese airline called Lauda Europe, though it operates entirely within the Ryanair group. So there you have it. We get a few moments of spectacular alpine views on the way, which is a nice distraction from the drab and uncomfortable interior. And a little over 3 hours after leaving Stockholm, Mallorca comes into view. At this point, I'm eager to get there and get off the plane. So I thought I might try out a new scoring system so you can see how these flights were at a glance, numerically. And what do you think? Should we call this the GabeScore? Or can you think of something else less hokey? Let me know in the comments if you come up with a good brand name for my airline scoring system. So for ground experience, I give this flight 1 out of 20. Boarding before the plane has even arrived is just inexcusable and only causes misery for passengers. It gets the 1 point for easy security at Terminal 4. For service quality, I give this 10 out of 20. The flight attendants were reasonably pleasant even if it's a bare bones service. Seat comfort gets 3 out of 20 because of broken seats that were super uncomfortable, but the legroom could have been worse. Food and drink gets a 3 out of 20 also. The selection is just fine, but you have to pay quite a bit for it. The aircraft gets an 8 out of 20. It's a boring old A320, but it gets a few points for the nice retro red livery, and it was airworthy, so that's good. That means that overall this flight gets a 25 out of 100. Definitely a failing grade, and I'll be avoiding flying on any Lauda operated flights in the future.
You can go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I would rate that airline as garbage. I mean, there's garbage everywhere, for one thing. They just don't clean it very much. But also, you know, the tray table was hanging into my lap. The seat in front of me, the kid couldn't get it to recline. My seat had some hard lump in it that was horrible to sit on. I mean, I don't know why you run an airline if it's going to be trash like that. You know, at least on the Ryanair flights I've taken, the planes feel new and fresh, even if I don't love the look inside. So that's kind of annoying. It's not like we paid nothing for our tickets, you know. People are paying money to do these flights, and you end up on this airline that clearly like just doesn't care. They make the calculation that that's fine by them. But nice to be in Mallorca, nice to take a flight over some beautiful scenery. We saw some of the Alps. So overall, always a positive. Ending up in a nice new place on an island like this.
Which house are we gonna sleep in?
There's one in the mountains. We're headed there.
I wanna see the mountains.
Thanks for coming along. In Mallorca, I'm Gabe Lee.